Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquathim you listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Akwai. I'm back in here with another lesson, and for today's lesson is going to be just a slight bit of a continuation of the topic I was covering earlier last week in regards to when you encounter white people, because not all white people are white people, right? So-called white people, right? So I want to touch a little bit about the Swedes. Bring out a couple receipts, right? And Yahweh Rataza, this would be an edifying lesson, right? So before I start, let me just pull up this quick scripture and then we'll go to the etymology. Okay, so this is Luke 8:17, and Yahushua said, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." Right? So what I want to do is expose a lot of the things that have been hidden to us, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay, so let's start off with the words in the etymology. Let's get the word swarthy just to kind of tie the article's content together so it makes sense. Right, so this is the word swarthy in the etymology, and it reads adjective, dark colored, especially of skin, 1580s, especially alteration of swarthy, swarthiness, right? Let's get tawny, because these are words that haven't been used for a long time, because we're under this guise of black, white, brown, Indian, Asian, and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so this is tawny, and it says tan colored, of Anglo-French tonne, of or like the brownish yellow of a tanned leather, dark brown, tan, right? To tan hides, medieval Latin tannere, tan, right? So somebody who has like that kind of a brownish, might be a little bit more a light brown color, right? And it says brown yellow. I'm thinking about people kind of like that basketball player, Stephen Curry. That brown but very very light brown, right? So my first receipt I want to bring up is the hang on. Oh, this an account I found about the Swedes, right? Let's get this. So this is an article I found and is dated February 18th, 2019, right? So it says here, the first Swedes were dark-skinned hunters and collectors moved from Scandinavia from the south at the end of the Ice Age. There, they were quickly joined by another immigration wave, this time from the east, resulting in the Stone Age of Europe's most diverse population. In a new documentary in Sweden's national SVT broadcaster has claimed, right? So this is based on a documentary that I believe it's out at the moment already. So it says here below, the first Swedes, a new documentary by the SVT national broadcaster, has been met with critical attention and backlash of its airing. According to SVT, the first modern people who entered today's Sweden were dark-skinned hunters, gatherers who follow the migrating reindeer. Matthias Jacobson, the professor of genetics at Uppsala University and a researcher of the Atlas Project, which claims to map the genome of Sweden's early population, stressed like unlike present-day Swedes, their ancestors had dark skin as a legacy of their African origin. And this is a quote, and it reads, "There look quite similar to the people at the time lived today's Luxembourg, Spain, and Germany, and their look would be quite unusual today. Blue eyes with dark skin. Shortly after the arrival, they blended with people from today's Russia, who brought along a more modern technique for manufacturing tools and arrowheads, SVT reported. Right, so let's continue on. So down here it says several thousand years later on, about 6,000 years ago, the first farmers arrived in today's Sweden and present-day Turkey and Syria and brought with them the agricultural knowledge, pushing the original population farther north, SVT reported. Right, so let's see if there's anything down here that I wanted to catch. So clearly here you see some people, they were chiming in. When you go through like the entire article, what I'm going to do is leave a link of it in the description. And some people were very, very upset by this, but what this research at this university was bringing out, was very valuable information, because normally when we think about, your typical Vikings look, we watch these TV shows like the Vikings, and it takes place in these Scandinavian countries. We think of these people as so-called white people, right? But when you go back into history, and I want to bring out more receipts to solidify my point, is the fact that there was a time where they were, so-called black people ruling in these lands, right? Because our presence was there, and that covers the Irish, the Scottish, the Brits, and so on and so forth, right? So now I was gonna get into the Scandinavian countries. Okay, so I think that's about it, right? So it's just yeah, so if you read some of the tweets, and some people are very, very upset by this, but this is just the truth that is just coming out, right? And a lot of people don't like to hear it. Um, especially when it's so-called white people, because in a lot of these countries, especially like the Scandinavian countries, are very, very they're not as diverse as Babylon. They're more homogenous, so more of the same, right? But a lot of these so-called white people who are present in those lands, they actually go back to so-called black men, Israelite men, right? Because we were dwelling in those lands. Okay, this is Psalms 85, verse 11, and it says, "Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven." Right? So what this is all that's true that's bringing out, right? So to further solidify my point, let me just go back to my lesson plan. What I'm going to do is read an account of one of the founding fathers, right? So this is very, very important, because at this time, one of the founding fathers, he wrote a letter to, explaining that he didn't want so-called black people mixing with the colonies that are just began to settle in pre-independence America, right? So America was founded, they established their independence, I think it was 1776. So this is prior to that, right? So this letter took place that he wrote was in 1751. Now, I believe it was published in 1754, but it's quite a long letter. But what I'm going to do is I want to just read the ending, right? Just to further prove that the people who were present in those lands at the time, for example, Sweden, Germany, other like Scandinavian countries, those places were inhabited by so-called black people, right? And this is something, an information that you will not learn in school. Okay, so what I would do is read the first paragraph, sorry, the last paragraph, Salakia, and just bring in a couple more scripts, and Lord willing, this will be edifying. Okay, so the last it here it says, which leads me to. So this is Benjamin Franklin speaking, right? Okay, so it says, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world are proportionally very small. All of Africa is black or tawny. Asia chiefly tawny. America exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, the Italians, the French, the Russians, and the Swedes are generally what we call a swarthy complexion. So now you remember from the etymology, we went through that. What does swarthy mean? Swarthy means people who had a dark skin color complexion, right? Um, where did I leave off? Okay, here it says, to continue on, it says, as are the Germans also, the Saxons only excepted, who with the English made a principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased, while we are, as we may call it, scouring the planet by clearing America of woods and also making this side of the globe reflect a lighter bright of to the eyes of the inhabitants of Mars and Venus. Why should we, in the sight of the superior beings, including Salakia, superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity, by excluding all blacks and tawnies, of increasing the lovely white and red? But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind. So, what he's expressing is all these countries that he listed here. It says, so all earlier on it said the Spaniards, the Italians, the French, the Russians, the Swedes, and also the Germans had a swarthy complexion. So this is not too long ago, when you really think about it. This is about about 300 years or so, give or take. Right, so this is the thing, this is the point I'm trying to bring out. Why would he say he doesn't want these people mixing amongst the so-called white people that are present in America, if all those people originally were so-called white people? Because that is not true. What I'm trying to do is bring out the receipts and pull down these strongholds that are plaguing our people, right? Because when we look at these images and these TV shows, when one of my favorite TV shows is, not to go too off topic, is Game of Thrones. And when we look at these TV shows, we think of these characters as so-called white people who were actually always there. But that is not necessarily, that is not the case. Let me just correct myself there, right? So this is one of the receipts I wanted to bring out. So what I can do is also link this in the description as well. And this is a person who actually existed, right? I'm not just making these things up, right? So I'm gonna get another precept, and okay, this is Second Ezra chapter 6 verse 27, and it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which hath so long been without fruit shall be declared." Right? So what I'm going to do, and what I've been doing, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, as well as our apostles, our elders, our teachers have been doing for years, is bringing out the truth of what's going on, because our people have been swimming in a cesspool of lies, right? There was one more thing I wanted to bring out. Oh, the chart. Let's see if I have my chart. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here I have a chart. So this is a page that I took from one of my books I have. It's called The Negro Question, Part 4. And this is the list of nations that Benjamin Franklin actually listed. And these were listed as black, so-called black nations in Europe in the 1700s. Right, so as you can see here, it says so Spain, France, Italians, Russians, Swedes, Germans, America, all these places were black at the time, right? We didn't have a lot of these so-called white people didn't come into all this power. It wasn't until later on, right? And because we held a stronghold in Europe for quite a long time, right? But now, like the scriptures say, we're in that little season now, right? It's starting from the Renaissance period, from the 1500s, up until now. However, you still had a lot of pockets and a lot of different countries, in Europe that was still being held on by Israelites, right? So let's get. Okay, this is Jeremiah 49, verse 10, and it reads, "For I have made Esau bare." And who's Esau? When you go to Genesis 36, Esau is Edom, the Edomites, right? Because they are the ones who have been whitewashing these images and painting them to look like themselves, and painting the Most High and His Son, Yahushua, to look like Him, right? "I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places. He shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." Right? So, what I'm doing, like I was saying, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, we've been, bringing out this information and exposing the things that he's done. Right? So, anyways, this concludes the end of my lesson. Hopefully this video was edifying, and I'd just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.